want to look at something that I've looked at many times, but maybe with a different light and with a different point of view. Come join me as we look at Revolutionary War pension applications, those that were rejected or suspended. Hi, this is Mark Lowe with Kentucky Tennessee Research, and I want to look at one of the resources that we probably many times used, and you perhaps have used them a lot yourself. Those are Revolutionary War pension applications for those soldiers, widows, and minors of their children who have applied for a federal pension application. And that application tells us lots of detail. If you haven't used those, there's lots there. But ran across something recently, didn't realize that how helpful that may be in regard to me finding that. And that's the rejected and suspended references. It's a publication from 1850. So it's not like it's a new publication. So it's very helpful in regard to helping me find what I'm looking at. And it's available in a couple of places. But for many of us, it's available at Ancestry.com. And it was published, and they now have shared the index to that and the publication itself. So there's the collection number, and there is the landing page if you're searching for it. And I would suggest that before you start searching for things, which would be certainly the normal way to do that, I want you to take a look at browsing it, and that would be looking over to the right and identifying underneath where it says Browse, and then the table of contents, and then notice it has an index to states, but more importantly, if you start looking, it's going to have claims of state individuals. And if you'll scroll on down, one of the states that you're interested in will definitely be there. And I want you to get to be a look at this resource as though it's one you've not used before. If you have, that's fine. But if you've not used it before, it's important with every time we look at a new resource or a new tool that we see how it works and we understand how it was collected. And particularly in this case, that's going to be very important. So as we look at this, a browsing location, I chose Kentucky. And just by looking at Kentucky, there are multiple pages. They're divided by the various types of what pension law those people applied under, and then their reasons for the rejection or suspension at this point. So I've highlighted one section here of the M's that we'll review. And in particular, I know a little bit about Nancy Martin, the widow of Benjamin, and so we'll probably look at that one as we go through the process. But it's important that you note there are multiple pages for each state under the various law under which their application applied. And we'll talk more about that in another series. Now, I'm going to refer you to a great article by Claire Prechtel Kluskens that's in the Prologue magazine. It's not a new article. It was published in the winter of 2008. And it's called Tracking Revolutionary War Army Pension Payments, Follow the Money. It's a great article, and there's a link to it. I would say take some time to read it, if not now, and save it. Follow through. Many of the Prologue articles that are available to us that have been written in the past are great tools for those of us who are researching using the federal records. Now, going back with that, I also want you to know that those pensions, the full pension applications, are available in a couple of places. The easiest way is probably to access them on Fold 3. But they're also available at FamilySearch.org. The first one is the application microfilm number. The second one is the digital collection, which then points you over to Fold 3, by the way. I'm just going to tell you that if you go through the second one, the digital collection that you can do searches and that sort of thing will then try to point you over to Fold 3. So if you want to actually look at the applications themselves, use the top number, the cataloging number. And that's what take you here, and then you're going to actually, you're not doing the search for it as they are in this application. You're actually going to search for it based on the name of the pensioner. So if I'm scrolling through in the process, this is doing it with an index format. That's the second format. And there it is. And of course, it shows me over on the right the reference to the record and then the image itself. And if I click on that image, it's going to point me to a partner image, which is the one at Fold 3. Just want you to know that depending on which one you search, if you search the digital collection, you're pointing back to Fold 3. So if you use the first one, I'll just remind you of that. Okay, the top one is the application microfilm. Those are digitized, accessible. The second one is using the search function, and that will take you to this little site, which will take you, once you find the name, will take you to Fold 3. Either way, as long as you know. But you can use them directly by searching Family Search. So I just want you to know you have some options. And we're going to use the rejected information because generally the application is available there, and using this rejected suspended notes are going to help us understand what was the difficulties with the application. Okay, if you want to double check me and review later, because we'll be talking about this application in other sessions, but it's film number 4160814. It is Benjamin Martin and Nancy, and the image starts on that film number, image 600 of 742. So if you go to that one, it's going to take you directly to the first page, which is the card. Now, here is Benjamin's declaration before the court, Barron County, Kentucky, in 1833, where he's saying all the information that's required under the Act, and he's applying under the Act of 1832, okay, June the 7th, 1832. And it's really important that you make note of that when somebody applies, of how they're applying based on those benefits, based upon the Act of Congress. What's great about this, if you've not used this, look how he starts out. I, Benjamin Martin, was born in Fauquier County in the state of Virginia on the 8th day of July, 1758, agreeable to my father's family record, and there lived with my father, Henry Martin, until the 1st of September, 1775. What great genealogical information we can obtain. Now, I do want you to also know, if you're not used to looking at handwritten text, that you can also, particularly if it's southern states, you can use a link called revoirapps.org, which is a great project that was put together by several folks to make these more accessible and searchable. Before they were so widely available, the process began to create this. And so from this one, we can actually do a search, and it tells all about how to search across all the names included within an application, which is great if you're looking for somebody in the neighborhood, somebody who participated in the war, any of their acquaintances, or people who may have provided witness or other testimony, that you can search across the applications and find their names as well, not just the pensioner. Okay, so there's two ways to go. In this case, I'm going to go directly to that one. And I want you to note that the link is based upon the number of the application. So if you already know the pension application, then you can see how that references directly to the notes that they have on the pension application of Benjamin Martin. He'll always tell you he transcribed it and the update of information, etc., and including the little paragraph of information in regard to how they track and correct punctuation or not, and spelling, etc. So this is a transcript, a close transcription of the same information we just looked at in his actual pension. So if you have problems with words, etc., you can cross-reference it, and certainly you could save the text format. I just want you to know that they're there. But what I'm looking at in particular, let's go back to the notes in the Ancestry database. Nancy Martin, the widow of Benjamin, Kentucky, Berry. There is not a Berry County. That should be Barron. That's one of the reasons why we need to look at things, because our assumption that all things that are cataloged correctly, that are indexed correctly, is just not true. So it's always good that we check. It does tell us, though, that the reason this application has been suspended is because her husband died after the passage of the Act of July 7th, 1838. Okay? Now, if you'll remember, his application was on the 1832 Act, June 1832. So he's died since the 1838 Act and did not reapply under that one. And so there evidently is some problem in regard to that. Within the application, you're going to find usually a sheet that's going to show what the regulations were for the act under which the person applied. And that's part of the application process to know what it included. And I would encourage you, if you don't have these, perhaps save that for the various acts. And I'll show you, you can look those up, actually read the act itself to determine what's there. And of course, the rules were established by the administration at the time, or the War Department, of how the application was to be filed. So within the process of that, you find the details within these notations of what's included. And it's much longer than that. I've just clipped off the first part of that, showing you what the regulations were. Now, within this is within the same application of Benjamin Martin, that reference. But this is his wife, Nancy. So on the 17th day of February, 1841, then she appeared, Nancy Martin. She's 81. Her birthday will be the 27th of March that year. She will be 81. And she's declaring this for the benefit of the Act of Congress passed July 7th, 1838. And so, and she goes on to say, entitled an act granting half pay and pensions to certain widows. So she's doing that, and also she's going to state the fact that they married on a certain date because the law did indicate that reference. Okay? Now, just to show you, if you go through and look at the application, you're going to see, wait a minute, why are there continuing information? Because if she got the pension, then there would be the notations in regard to her death and the ending of the pension. But there's not. There's going to be another declaration. This was in 1852. And this is going to indicate that they're now still trying to apply under the July 7th, 1838 and subsequent acts. And that this is on behalf of the Benjamin Martin. But now, Benjamin H. Martin, Mary Cole, and Rebecca Grider, they are the heirs of Benjamin Martin. So you see, we've got the generational connections already. And in fact, within that, I will tell you that there's a copy of the Bible record included with all of the children. Now, it's sometimes helpful to go back and find the law. And there are a lot of ways to do that, but the federal laws are much easier. We can do those at the Library of Congress at the American Memory section. If you take that top link and then choose statutes, then once you know the laws, and we'll be talking about those in another session of how to find them and the details of following it specifically, of then finding the paragraphs of what it's talking about. For example, this reference talks about supplementary to the act whose marriage took place after the expiration of the last period of his service before the 1st of January 1794. And then so it talks about it, and that then the Secretary of War will adopt any regulations and the forms of evidence. And that's the reason for that other sheet of application of what's in there. So evidently, there was some problem in the fact that he was still, he applied originally under the Act of 1832. He was still living under the Act of 38. He died after that without any supplemental reference. And then when she applied for 38, evidently because he had died after 38 and had not updated or applied in 38 himself, maybe there's some reason. So we'll look at that a little more detail and more, okay? But within that, there's so much information in many cases within a pension application, whether you're following that person or somebody else in the neighborhood, that this is even the notation of a marriage bond in Fauquier County for them at the date of their marriage, that he can't find any marriage bond or any evidence of the solemnization within their records. And then he says, I'll further certify that bonds and returns of marriage in my office prior to the year 1800 appear to have been loosely kept and imperfectly preserved. And that's definitely true in regard to that reference. So you can imagine how many applications in regard to that mention that. That's a great reference to know that that's what the clerk said. Now, how can we use these? Well, number one, we have information. And whenever we find information in regard to the folks that we're looking at and people that will help us find that data, that's the kind of information we're using. I want you to get familiar with this publication, the suspended applications of those by using that first record that we referred to that's available at Ancestry.com. I want you to take a look at it. If you don't have access, then type that term, rejected and suspended applications. It is a government document application that's been published in a book, and then it's been carried over to that process. And I showed you kind of what it looks like, but I encourage you to go and browse that collection. Follow up with us, because then we're going to do some more information with picking several other people, and we'll take a look at all of those applications and how to use those more in our research. I mean, that is the key, correct? That is the key. Well, I'm glad you joined us today. I hope you'll continue to follow along in the process. I hope you'll go take a look at not only the RevWar pension applications, but look at this new tool in regard to those that are rejected or suspended. And you ask the question, why? Further in our studies, we'll actually take somebody that's been rejected and see if we can't find all the information that was just never submitted for their pension application, which is a great tool for all of us. In the meantime, keep researching, have a great day, and good luck in your new pathway. See you later.